people.
Yeah. So why don't we start, Andrew, with you for my audience or for people who are watching this, maybe not live or in the future. I have decided to interview some arts professionals just
Hmm.
to, learn from other people. Hopefully, our audiences can learn about us too, and just to talk about the importance of the arts. And why don't you just talk about yourself, Andrew? Just introduce yourself and how you got here and what you
Oh
do.
boy. Oh boy. In the beginning there was nothing, and then there was no, I'm kidding. So I am originally from Akron, Ohio. That's like Northeast Ohio, south of Cleveland. I did my undergraduate studies. Well, actually, I should say I studied with Renee D, who is a renowned bassoon pedagogue in Akron, and she has been one of the main reasons that I really succeeded with
Mm-hmm.
bassoon. And so she's listed as my aunt on my Facebook page, but she's played a huge part of it. She really taught me discipline, and as a kid who did not have a lot of discipline or was very wild in his energy, it was so needed. And then after that, I went to Baldwin Wallace University, which has a really nice school of music, undergraduate only. Studied with a member of the Cleveland Orchestra, Jonathan Sherwin, who's the contrabassoonist and third or fourth bassoonist for the Cleveland Orchestra. And he was just a wonderful teacher. He was the kind of teacher who never had to raise his voice. He never had to be angry at you to get what he needed. He could be like, that was really fantastic. I'm really proud of you. That was nice. Or if I came in very underprepared, he'd be like, I'm really disappointed in your effort. And that's all it took. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Because you don't, that hits a note. And it was very effective. And he was just like a joy to work with. And I ended up getting to perform with him my senior year. We did a radio broadcast of Mozart's Serenade number 12 in E flat.
Mm-hmm.
And it was teacher, student playing each part. And that was such a joy. I can rant about my undergraduate for a while. I loved that place. It was like Hogwarts for me. And
Yeah.
then from there, I went to Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh. I studied with Nancy Gorez, who is just an incredible person, incredible musician. Really helped me to hone my craft. And it was an incredible time. And I made some of my closest friends while I was there that I'm still friends with now.
Mm-hmm.
And Pittsburgh was kind of where I also got my foot in the door as far as freelancing. Freelancing, there really is like no introduction. You're just kind of meet someone. So I met a gentleman by the name of Ryan Leonard, and he got me my first real gig in the area. And he was, still a good friend today and great clarinet player. I started playing with regional orchestras. Before I moved out of Pittsburgh, I actually performed a concerto with an organization called Resonance Works Pittsburgh, who I'm actually doing an interview with on Friday. So
Oh, wow.
I know if you want to check it out, they're a fantastic group, and they like to utilize unusual venues and spaces in the area to perform orchestra works, opera works. Really great group to be with. And then, I had taken several auditions. I can talk about auditions separately if you like. I had taken a lot of auditions up to that point, and then I won my position here in Grand Rapids. And so I joined the orchestra.
And I was backstage when you won.
You were?
That
I
was so
remember.
exciting.
It was such a good feeling. And I'd been a substitute musician with the orchestra several times already. So like I knew people, and it was so wonderful to be able to join the orchestra and then to move here.
Yeah.
Because when I moved here, it was like I moved here for a job, which was the first time that had ever happened. Most musicians don't usually get the choice. You go where the work is, or you're somewhere because you went to school there. And so this was one of those instances. It's like, wow, I get to move for a job, not just for an education or things like that. So it was really incredible. And then just been living the dream.
So,
So
and you play bassoon and contrabassoon. Can you talk
yes.
about how you got into that and what came first, or how you transitioned into the other, etc.
Sure. So bassoon came first. Bassoon will always come first and should always come first. Contrabassoon is, a specialty instrument, auxiliary instrument, and is something that you cannot just do alone. Because in the end, in the orchestra, bassoon is needed more often, and there are doubling parts. And contrabassoon is such a great instrument, but its role as a solo instrument is very new. It was very rarefied, and now, people specialize in it, but you always have to come back to bassoon first. So I played bassoon. I started playing bassoon, good golly, the 7th grade.
Yeah.
And that was I actually walked into a room. My mom was a band director. She's retired now. And I saw her playing. She was playing for just a random gig, and I looked at it, and I liked to be unique, and I was, kind of a weird kid anyway. So I saw that thing looking like a missile launcher, and I'm like, I want to do that. And it looks unique, and it called me. And so I was like, I got to do this. And so got a private teacher, started working on that. And then I studied with a woman for several years who kind of got me the basics and the rough goings of everything on bassoon. Then when I started studying with Renee, she had a contrabassoon in her studio, and I'm like, oh my God, that's so weird. I want to play that. And, she was very like, do not ask me to play it until you've earned it. And so after many, many months of working with her, she's like, okay, I'll let you play it as a reward. And it was just the coolest thing, getting to play this giant buzzy instrument. And so, bassoon was my main thing. And then when I got into my undergrad, you would get assigned to play contrabassoon in orchestra. And that was kind of the last spot you could get in orchestra before you were just like in one of the wind ensembles. And so I got that on my first go. And I loved it. I thought it was the coolest thing. It's super low. It's very loud.
Yeah.
Everyone loves it when it's played loud, And so I started playing in my undergrad.
And for my followers who aren't musicians, is there a piece that you think the contrabassoon is featured in that, like, generally people know what it is?
Yes. Most famously would be the Mother Goose Suite by Ravel. The Beauty and the Beast. It is the beast. So that's the one. And it's almost the whole movement is contrabassoon solo. And then there's clarinet and violin. That's where you'll hear it. For those who are looking for an interesting place to hear it, the opening of Ravel's Piano Concerto for the Left Hand it starts with a contrabassoon solo. And that is a really, really cool way to hear it, just right at the beginning of a piece. And such a cool sound. Like, I heard that for the first time without knowing it was going to be there. And I was just shook. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so eventually it, came into contrabassoon. Yeah, when I was an undergrad, and then as I got into grad school, my teacher was like, you're really good at it. You got to have your own instruments. And, contrabassoons cost generally somewhere between $25,000 to $45,000. So I had to take out a student loan. I have a giant...
And why? Tell the audience why that is. Why are they so expensive?
They're so expensive because they are rare. They are handmade. You're using very specialized equipment. Yes, as my mom is watching this live stream. Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
And she as she's been along with me on this journey, just watching the number of new cars that I have that are just my instruments.
Yeah.
Contrabassoon is very, you don't make a whole lot. Like I have a contrabassoon. It's a Mollenauer. It's a German model, but it's only like the 4 digits in of creation. So, there are only several thousand have been made of it.
Wow. Yeah.
And so yeah, it's real. They're all made out of wood, and they're all made out of nice wood.
Hmm.
aged and very, very wonderful, beautiful looking instruments, but like, gotta invest.
Yeah, I remember talking with you backstage at an audition that you were working with me at after
Hmm.
that, talking about the cost of the instrument. And that was so new to me. I had no knowledge of that
Right.
aspect.
Well, and it's funny because you, as a violin player, you're one of the few people who would be able to be like, "Oh, that's nothing."
Well,
You
I
know,
know,
the mo
but it's still just like, because you can get a violin for like, you can get a $500 violin. It's not going to sound
Mhm.
great, but
Yeah,
you can get, because they're so readily made and they're
right.
factory produced sometimes. When you
Hmm.
told me that, like the base price for some of these bassoons is already in the thousands, it's like, what? But
Yeah,
it makes
yeah,
sense. It makes sense.
hmm for sure. And there's a model called Heckle, or it's the brand is Heckle. There's particular instruments that have been made since before World War II and after World War II, and they age really well. And so those instruments go into the 50,000s because they're very coveted, beautiful sound, very specific kind of sound, and hard to get your hands on kind of thing.
Hmm. And another thing, can you talk about your reed making? Because I do have quite a
Hmm.
few audience members and my family who watches these interviews that I've been doing, and they are not musicians. They don't know anything about wind instruments. Can you talk about reed making?
Yes, I'm actually at my desk. I think I can turn my camera around. So reed making, for those who are curious, what a bassoon reed looks like, it looks like this. It's not. And so bassoon reeds are, we have to make them all by hand. They can't be machine processed because you can see this, the shape of it. It goes from two pieces of wood that are strapped together with a round end. So, it's very much needs hand precision tools and crafting. And it's very specific. People make their reeds very differently from each other. And then, of course, you need equipment, which funny enough, I'm sitting at my read desk right now. That's my light to help be artsy and all that. Puzzle I got. My desk is very large, so I can store a lot of things on it. But here's
Yeah.
like about this is where I keep all my old reads that are like the
Wow.
well-worn warriors that I've used. You know, but then here's the drawer down here.
Oh my
You know,
goodness.
this is my profiling machine. This measures the thickness of my reeds. This works on just the front half of the reed.
So interesting.
These are other tools that I use. Close that. And then here are my finishing tools. I have some files over here. This cuts the tip of the reed. These are things I put the reed on to hold. These
Wow.
ream out the round end. So, I mean, you're just looking at like a little hobby shop worth of stuff, and that's only half the desk.
Yeah. Can you show, I
So,
see your bassoon behind you. Can you show a little glimpse of it?
yes,
There we go.
that's my bassoon. And then actually on this side, that's my contrabassoon, and
Yes.
also my bass guitar because it has been keeping me company a lot during the quarantine.
Awesome. So you're a musician and a craftsman.
Effectively, and
Yeah.
it's one of those things that you spend so much time making reads. It can be really hard to get through because you out of a batch of 10, I might get two that are actually workable, and the
Hmm.
rest, some of them I can sell for students and stuff like that. Reads that are good for students. They're still learning how to make a noise, so you want one that can play really well. Some of those reads, right, great for students, and then other ones go in the garbage.
Hmm.
So you're throwing money away immediately. So it can be a pain in the butt sometimes. But craftsmen, absolutely. And I think some people, it helps get through the day when it's kind of like, oh, there's an art to this. You give yourself some credit. You're spending a lot of time perfecting something that literally, like machines aren't able to do as well as you.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the
Very cool.
egotistical version of that answer. Sorry.
I don't think it's egotistical. I think it shows the value of, being a human and what we can bring that, a robot or a machine cannot.
Absolutely. I right on the head. I think also as musicians, we strive for perfection in such a demanding and often really harsh way that I
Hmm.
think is difficult to get around sometimes, and the cost of that. And to
Hmm.
be able to at least give yourself the respect you deserve and the care, not that it's just sitting around patting yourself on the back, but to be like, hey, you know what? I worked hard to get here, uh, and I respect the work that I put into this because, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you're a great reed maker if you hate it. And I feel like that's the thing with music in general is you have to find a way during all the grueling
Hmm.
stuff we do to love what you're doing.
Hmm.
And even if that means you have to assign yourself a task,
Yeah.
that's it's important.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is such a great talk already, Andrew. So
Oh,
my
thank you.
next question for you was, what projects have you been working on?
Oh, well, it's funny you mentioned that because as I read that question earlier, I was like, oh no, people are going to think I'm lazy. So to be honest, the musical projects I've been working on have mainly been for the Grand Rapids Symphony.
Hmm.
We've done 2 online videos now, which were really fun to do. And a
Yeah.
great way to reconnect with some colleagues because we call each other and be able to, talk about it.
Hmm.
And then I did a solo video, which was really cool because I did it on contrabassoon, hadn't had a chance to work on that piece before. And now I'm kind of in the netherworld of, there are no concerts on the horizon. So, my girlfriend has been living with me during all of this, and she's been such a great supporter of like, hey, I know this is what you love, and it's really heartbreaking right now, because that I can't do what I want to do with my career. And so she has been having me hold little concerts and stuff like that for her, and then
Oh, that's
soon for
great.
some of her friends soon, and some of my friends soon. Just to be like, you know what, I need to play. I miss it, and especially during this time, it's good to acknowledge like the pain of like I can't do what I've been training to do,
Hmm.
and to find some way to reconnect with it in a meaningful way.
Yeah.
And I've known a lot of people who've been doing online videos of like doing arrangements of Haydn symphonies all on oboe. My friend Ian, who lives in Pittsburgh, has been doing that, and they're really, really cool. And I'm trying to find pieces I've never worked on before that are like just fun to play through because I have the time now.
Yeah. Well,
And
and you
so
also you write poetry. Have you been doing that too?
Yeah, I have been. It's actually been kind of hard during this. As a writer, I like to go out into the world and look for inspiration, look at the world and find, things to write about. I loved
Hmm.
John Green, the author, wrote an essay about the mankind's capacity to wonder or to wander, yeah, to wonder. And like what a cool thing, like an idea you're talking about the wonders in your life that you experience that you can't really, you know, physically hold on to, like seeing the sunset. And for me, that is being in nature, that's seeing people. And so I've
Hmm.
had to kind of write about, you know, internal things, which can be good, but sometimes, is not always happy. One of my latest pieces, it's called Undone, and it's about that feeling of numbness that is uh, I get stuck that's hard to get through because it's like, well, I don't want to process what's happening right now, so I'm just going to not feel anything,
Hmm.
and that is hard.
Hmm.
So I've been trying to make a point to write every day, whether it's a journal entry, whether it's about people in my life, about my friends, or just to write like, okay, I'm going to look at pictures of, something in nature, or do one of those virtual tours that people are doing now, like on Google Maps, just to find something to write about,
Mm-hmm.
to get the creativity flowing.
Mm-hmm. That's another
So,
question that I thought of to ask you. And one of the reasons I started this little interview thing I'm doing is, why do you think, especially now, the arts are so important?
I mean, I think right now the arts are especially important because, man, I feel like we are all suddenly stuck in a position where we have to rely on our creativity to get by, and suddenly, it's not like you go to work and you come home and think of it this way. You go to work, you come home, you watch TV. That TV show has become your outlet. That becomes
Mm-hmm.
something that is like soothing for you after a long day. And the arts are very much the same way. You go to an art museum to get away from the world and to think. You go to a concert to escape and to hear something wonderful and beautiful and interesting. And right now we're in a situation where the arts are removed in-person experience. And that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of what makes classical music so unique. So now we have to rely on modernization to enjoy those things. And so I think it means they're even more precious because you can
Mm-hmm.
only enjoy them, in such a singular fashion. And it also forces you to bring it into your home. Usually you don't bring those things into your home. People will, for the people who can't afford, artwork, listening to CDs all day and stuff like that. Now it's like, okay, I need to be listening to something and
Mm-hmm.
just sit and listen. And that is really important. And writing. Oh, I've been reading so much more lately because, that is something really beautiful to just stop,
Mm-hmm.
especially when
Also,
there's nowhere to
your
go.
mom just said something I love. She said, "Music touches memories and emotions which take us away from the things that we are feeling we can't control."
I got the
That's
writing
good.
gene from someone, as you could see.
What a great mom.
Yeah, no, but I can't say it better. I mean, we need it right now because also, how else, what's a better way to process than through a device, through a vehicle that can guide you safely, you
Mm-hmm.
know, that can take you in a direction where you end up where you want to go.
Yeah. My next question, um, and this is more about like the past, I guess. What has been the favorite project, specifically with your music, that you have been a part of?
Oh God, there's so many. And projects, I'm guessing, should we stick with concerts or organizations or?
What, whatever you think, whatever you think.
Oh God. Oh man. There have been a lot of kind of like capstone moments,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, one of the biggest ones that comes to mind in general was, okay, I'll start at the beginning of the story. Uh, 2009, 2010, I heard Mahler's Eighth Symphony for the first time, and it was just a clip, but it was the closest thing to like a divine calling I have ever experienced. And I was like, oh my God, I need to do this forever. And so I switched from being a music therapy major. I started
Mm-hmm.
out as a double music therapy, music performance major, switched to
Yeah.
just music therapy, or switched to just music performance. And I obsessively listened to that piece. It's called The Symphony of a Thousand, and it is just unbelievably beautiful. And so throughout my career, I would listen to it all the time. And it was just it means so much to me. So flash forward, several months in, let's see, 2015, I had auditioned and gotten onto the Philadelphia Orchestra's sub list.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, I was like, this is fantastic. I hope that I hope I get to perform with them someday. And sure enough, I get an email saying, hi, we'd like you to play fourth bassoon on Mahler's Eighth Symphony for the 100th anniversary performance of the American premiere that Philadelphia did.
Wow.
Yeah. And
That's
I mean,
amazing.
I just about screamed. I was so
That's
excited.
amazing.
And so, March 2016, got to play fourth bassoon on it. And I mean, that was like one of the most incredible experiences, the closest I've ever come to crying on stage ever. Because I mean, just sitting there and I'm like, this is the top. This is the top. I mean, it's not the top because the ride's not over yet. But I mean, that was definitely
that's pretty amazing.
And that performance actually recently got released on CD via Deutsche Grammophon.
Oh, so wow.
It's on CD.
You're famous.
I know. I'm not in the credits because I think they only do the main orchestra roster, but I am in the pictures. So
that's so great.
It was, that was, and there was one of the sopranos and one of the tenor soloists from the original recording were in the soloists for that week. So I ran into them and I'm like, hi, there's no way to explain this, but like, you're one of the reasons that I got into this career.
Wow.
And they're like, oh my God, what's your voice type and all that. I'm like, I'm a bassoonist. And I'm sitting there like, your voices were a part of this journey. And it was just so cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So, that's kind of my topper. There have been some other pretty incredible ones, playing Mother Goose with the Grand Rapids Symphony was pretty fantastic. That was my first big moment orchestrally with the orchestra I belonged to. And then also playing Vivaldi's Concerto in E minor with Resonance Works Pittsburgh. I mean, that was the first time I had ever been a soloist with a group, been a soloist like that. And so that was a real treat to get to do and to see my family who got to be there. And so it was, those are a few, but there have been so many. I mean, so many great orchestras, and I could rant for a while.
Yeah. So Andrew, we had those two audience questions come in. I'll say them both. The first was, are you keeping up with your 2020 goals regardless of the virus, COVID-19? And the second one was, do you like or dislike surprises?
Yes, I read those, and I'm going to start with the surprises because I feel like that's definitely an easier one. I do like surprises. I'm very hard to surprise because I am usually the one who does surprises. So a lot of times it's hard to surprise me, but I do enjoy them from time to time. I don't like bad surprises, but who does?
Yeah.
And then as far as have I kept up with my goals? I can't find my goals. I wrote them down somewhere, I swear. And I've been trying to find them. I started out with some pretty basic goals. I wanted to travel more with my girlfriend. And we did get to do that. We went to Chicago for a weekend right after New Year's, saw Phantom of the Opera, and it was her birthday present to me. It was amazing.
That's amazing.
And then she actually came out to see me in Philadelphia right before all this kicked off. And so that was really fantastic. And so got to do that. Started getting healthier. I started working out more. I lost a bunch of weight as I came to Grand Rapids, and so I wanted to continue that. That's a little on hold because I don't have a great self-discipline about exercising.
Yeah.
But I've maintained my weight. That's actually the amazing part. Is I haven't gained weight. And so now actually really at this point, life is not going to be in a place where I'm going to be thinking about my goals necessarily in the same way. So now I'm kind of readjusting them to be closer to what the new normal is going to be like.
Yeah.
It's
a weird time.
Yeah, like I really wanted to publish like a book or like a chap book is what they call them. They're maybe 30 pages, 40 pages of my poetry, and just
Oh wow, that would be amazing.
Yeah, I was thinking about doing that, and that's something I think will still be in the cards, but it is definitely something I have to finance myself. So For the moment, that's kind of on hold, but I'm trying to like instead blog more.
Hmm.
Since now everyone's at home, I figure they're reading blogs, and then just, cooking more and,
Yeah.
I've been really diving into mindfulness meditation,
Hmm.
which has been really helpful for me, especially with anxiety and things like that.
Hmm.
So I've been, delving into that more.
Good stuff.
Yeah. But how are
Well,
you, Larissa? That's what I want to know. How are you doing? It's been so
I
long.
I have been so I live alone, and
Hmm.
I have been following the guidelines pretty strictly. Um,
Hmm.
so I have been alone now for like over, I stopped counting. It's almost been 50 days.
Oh,
So
man.
I'm doing well. Like
Hmm.
I'm still working remotely for the symphony. But obviously we've had to cancel many of our concerts. So my workload is significantly less.
Right.
And a lot of my students are more intermittent lessons. So
Hmm.
it's I have a lot more time in my hands. So I've been painting and doing art and
Oh.
just connecting with friends over Zoom a lot. So it's been really good. And
Hmm.
I have started running,
Ooh.
which I haven't done in years. So, I mean, I'm not running a ton, but I've been trying to run more and exercise. And
Hmm.
that's sort of keeping me sane because it's like
Right.
when you exercise, I don't know. Sometimes it's really hard to exercise, like you were saying. But for me, because I think that also helps with a little bit of anxiety. It's like, okay, let's move my body, let's get outside because I'm cooped up all alone and it's like, what else can I do?
Right.
So,
Right.
but
No.
it's been good. And then, connecting with people like you on these interviews has been a project I started, and that's been really fun. And so I'm
Oh,
trying
that's
to use my
fantastic.
creativity to kind of, try new things, and that's been really good.
That's fantastic. And I mean, yeah, it would be very easy. I mean, the first couple weeks of this, I disappeared. So, I'm really happy to see that. I mean, this is such a cool idea, just interviewing people and posting it because, yeah, you get people to interact and then people get talk to each other and things like
Yeah,
that. And
yeah,
that's so important right now. It's
yeah,
communication.
yeah. But I want to say though, I think that this is such a weird time, and I think people do cope with it differently. And I don't think people should feel bad for you know, not being like super productive. I think there is, it's totally valid too to just be like feel like you just need a rest and just like calm down too. Cuz it's
Right.
it's a weird time.
Absolutely. And I think that's, for me, that was the biggest thing. I actually was getting, and this is not directed at anyone, this is my own personal thing, but everyone was started posting videos of them playing, like, oh, I'm going to get through this with music. And I was getting so annoyed. And it was not directed at them. I wasn't like, that's so cool that people are doing that.
Mhm.
I was getting upset because I didn't feel that desire to
Mhm.
play, and I felt
Yeah.
really burned out just by the thought of like all
Yeah.
this that I've been working toward. The momentum just stopped, and I had to take some time to grieve that, and that's the most privileged thing I could say because there are some real things happening in the world right now, and so but also it's taking time to recognize you are important, your problems are important, and it doesn't matter what's
Mhm.
happening in the world. Your life is your own, and if you don't acknowledge what you're feeling, then
Mhm.
you're going to it's going to get really pent up, and it will come out regardless
Yeah.
of whether you want it to or not. And it's
Yeah.
better to try and have a day where you listen to only metal, which I've done many times now.
Yeah.
Or because that's how in high school I did that all the time. I listened to heavy metal, and man, you feel great after you get it out of your system, or you go for a run like you're doing. I mean, you find ways to cope, and you do it. It's
Mhm.
unfortunately that's the thing you have to do. It's not so much about coping. It's you have to grieve. You have to give yourself the
Yeah, it
time to
has been kind
grieve.
of a grieving process. Yep.
And
That's true.
you have to, I don't want to say make yourself grieve, but you have
Yeah.
to allow yourself to feel it as it comes and feel it. Because
Hmm.
like going numb is just not going to help at
Hmm.
all. It will stall it, and it will, it can stunt communication, and you got to force yourself to go the other way.
Yeah.
So feeling, the hardest thing.
Yeah. Well, Andrew, this has been such a great chat. And you're just one of my favorite people. I think one of my favorite
Thanks.
coworkers, along with Corey,
Oh,
who just commented
yeah.
below.
Hi, Corey. And I
And
actually sneak preview. Corey and I. Well, Corey had me on his podcast recently.
he did. You started your podcast career.
It's happening. Corey, shout out to your podcast right now. It's awesome.
Tell everyone what it's called so they can go view it.
Corey, if I bought dropping this week on Tuesday, it's called "And the Award Goes to ... by Corey Holcomb. Award podcast. Add award podcast.
Oh,
Check it out immediately. It's awesome. It's super cool. And Larissa, I was super rude and cut you off. Please continue what you were saying.
oh,
I'm
that's
sorry.
fine. I don't remember. What was I saying? I was
I
saying
miss you too. That's
this
what
has been
we were
great.
going.
Yes. And I'm going to post this on my YouTube channel so people can watch our whole talk for the future, years to come.
Fantastic.
Any
Thank you
parting
so
words?
much. Well, one, thank you so much for having me. This was such a joy to get to do. I have just been looking forward to any source of human contact, and especially because, backstage at the symphony, I'm not always playing every piece, and we're just, sitting backstage shooting the breeze, and or working auditions, and it's such a joy to hang out with you and to laugh and be ridiculous. And so I miss that, and I can't wait till we get to do that. As far as parting words, trying to think of something poetic. I'm just kidding. No, to everyone who's watching, thank you for watching. I hope that you will take some time during this like strange season of life we're in to look into the arts, learn about something. I mean, even if you don't learn about something, go and enjoy some of the arts right now. Keep in touch with your family, and remember that we will get through this together. And keep hope alive, because that's all we've got.
That was great. Yes.
Thanks.
All right.
But
Have a good night.
you too. Take care. Bye,
Yes.
everyone.
Bye.